Could you introduce yourself first?
Okay, I will.
No, I don't want to.
You know what I'm saying, baby? It's always
My name's
good.
Gilron McEwen.
Okay.
All right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, be natural right now because
Don't
that's
put it on
what you're
camera.
doing.
Don't put it on
Yeah.
camera.
Let's discuss this matter. I understand there's racism going on.
Straight up racism.
Hmm?
Straight up.
Straight up.
Straight up. There's no way to look at it. Straight back. Yeah. The real world.
It's racism.
Straight up racist. What's your name?
My name is Fonz.
Fonz?
Mm-hmm. I represent Brutality, part of the police system. And plus I represent blacks that is in the U.S. Navy that have been mistreated by the system. You know, because I was in the system, which I'm still in the system, but you know, they kicking my ass too. Okay, I'm just looking for more people that getting their ass kicked like me. All right, because we as a blacks, and I'm gonna put you on that, it's racism, but we need to get in the race before we mess around here and die and just leave all this mess to others. And we shouldn't do that. So it's time for us to go up into the other life, fighting
right.
what's in this life.
They talk about Rodney King.
Rodney King.
It's worse than Rodney King. What white boy did. With no cause, but because the man was black. That's all it was. I'm sitting there watching this shit. I got scared from all night. On the ground like he a criminal, a thug. Boy said, that's the councilman. Give a fuck who it is. No respect. More racist white boys who want to see the worst thing that a nigga is. We got a president and they still want to call me a nigga. You feel me? That's the way it is. But that be the reason why. She don't want to be on camera. They can take it out now.
Well, if she don't want to live forever, that's on her.
Well, no, I ain't gonna go there with her, man. That's my wife.
Right. I'm saying it's all right because I can understand, you know, it's about consciousness. Once you come to your conscience of what's really going on, see, you know, war comes into the light. And I can understand her as a female.
That's right.
All right? And I would love to see her understand that she is faced in this type of situation.
Oh, she understand.
Okay. So we need her to be thinking about who gonna wrap some of the guys' head if they got hit by the police.
We gotta look at it face value to what it's worth.
Man, you gonna have
the
to go
kind of work
fight.
she do, man, she ain't got no. She'll need that. Her life.
Man, look.
They
You still gonna have to go at the police.
Income.
The police gonna go get her and do the same thing to her as they did to Mike. And before Mike got it, I got it. And then you got it. We all got it. We were born into it.
To see it.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you got it if you see it.
To see evidence.
Yeah.
Of what they are.
Right.
And what they're about.
Yeah.
It was clean cut.
Clean cut.
1, 2.
Yeah.
That's why they done it.
Yeah.
So they're watching this man throw him on the ground like that. And they show no reason in the world for it. He came out of his house to check on his neighbor and get body slammed for what reason? A hypo white cop who hate niggas who did what he did. Then laugh about it.
Well, hold on. It's the system now, hold it.
It's a system.
Okay. So don't put it on that one man.
I can't say all.
Well, we're talking about the system.
I can't say few.
What about the system?
The system, well, it's a different story.
The system.
The system is hard.
All right. So they are the system.
That's right.
They are components of the system. So don't put it on just that one individual. You put it on the system.
Yeah. So that's what the reason why.
Yeah, that's what it is.
They proved it. They proved to let us know who we are.
Right. And we still gonna slam dunk you niggas.
Basically,
That's what it is.
basically, that's
That's
all
what
it
it
is.
is. The system.
Yeah. You don't want to understand. I wish that people being a president, being of America, seems like
Well,
is not enough.
the president really basically know about it.
Yeah, he don't know about this. Huh?
But I'm telling you, he knows
Knows
about it.
all about it. Yeah, you know.
All right, because it happened to them too.
You can't say all, but it's a few.
Well, no, it's the system and those who serve the system that represent the system. So how do you explain? This is the system. You do as the system because you're in the system. So whoever in the system, it's got to be all.
True that.
All right, because they went to the same academy institution. All right, so it's the system. You don't put it on just one person. You cannot put slavery on one person. The American system imported and exported slaves for profit. That means that's us. Right now, you seen 1860 when they slam dunked his ass because he done served them people. Just as I served them and they slam dunked me. You know, I had to go through some surgery to stay here and I died behind their hands. And the only reason why I'm here today is because it is my duty and my commitment to my country and to my people that the police and all of the deal that the police is about, because I know the history, is about killing the black folks. Before I was a police, I was a slave catcher. You run away, I would catch your ass. And if they said dead or alive and they gonna pay me, you can bet you coming back dead. Now, we already know what year we in. If we allow this to go any further, that's showing us through Mike, showing us, we got to go and stand. If we don't have protection, the only people can protect us, and you're ascending from a slave, is that we gonna have to form our own, as you would say, militias.
Boy, I gotta go, man.
Okay, well, he haven't got here, so
They both been here. Yeah.
well, I can understand what's going through because see, I done had that type of drama. Because
Well, my drama is also that, but it's also what I'm faced with. I gotta do. Put this back in order.
right,
So I have some issues right now.
yeah.
I shared it with you.
Well, you know
That's
what?
enough.
I'm here to help you. As
Right.
to
I
me,
thank you for coming
it's
over.
any manner that I can help
Thank you
you
for coming
with.
over.
Yeah.
I gotta go now.
Well, I'm ready to go when you gotta go. Cause he's not here. You
Well,
know,
yeah, Rick.
I'm ready when you're ready. And thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. You ready for it? We're gonna have to go on and do what we gotta do. Yeah. We gotta do what we gotta do. So at least I know where I'm at now.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
All right, no problem.
And we're going to tackle this battle just like it's got to be.
Hello. No, no, man, no smoke.
Excuse me. Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
can I have a cigarette, please?
A who?
Cigarette?
Cigarette.
I mean, a cigarette. A light, please?
Baby. You know, only thing, if I had a match, I'd probably set the police on fire.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened to that one guy that went to jail? I wasn't out here, but they cameraed me for some reason.
Who? Who's that?
Some people.
Why are you cameraing us?
Who?
Why are you cameraing us?
What do you mean camera?
What's that for?
What is that?
I know it's a camera, but what is it
What I'm
for?
saying. What do you mean? What is it for? You
What is
tell me what it's for.
To camera people.
Yeah. So what did the camera people say to you?
They said, what do you think about what's that guy's name?
What guy?
The guy that lives two houses from here or
What?
something?
What about?
I guess what
Two
did I
houses
say?
from here?
What is this that way? The fucking...
The hell?
We're fucking stupid.
Who's two houses?
We're fucking stupid.
Where
Let's
do
just
we
go
live?
find another light, man.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
come on. My cousin.
What happened? Are you gonna
What?
are you gonna put that on TV?
TV?
No, he don't got no right to put it on TV. He lives down the street. Quit following
Well, you told me
us,
two
man.
houses from here. Okay.
Stop recording that.
All right.
Our top story at 6:30, President Obama is expected to sign a health care reform bill when it reaches his desk tomorrow.
But Republicans vow the fight is not over.
This legislation will not fix everything that ails our healthcare system, but it moves us decisively in the right direction.
Can you say it was done openly? With transparency and accountability? Without backroom deals and struck behind closed doors? Hidden from the people? Hell no, you can't!
The 10-year bill will extend coverage to 32 million uninsured Americans. Insurance companies won't be able to drop patients who get sick, and they won't be able to deny anyone because of pre-existing conditions. People covered under their parents' insurance can do so until they are 26 years old.
It is a bill stirring emotions on both sides, and we wanted to spell out some of those provisions that benefit you. Elizabeth Irwin joins us now with the details on that. Elizabeth?
Catherine, people have been contacting us ever since last night's big vote. Some saying the bill is far from perfect, but others praising what it'll do to help those who really need it.
Oh, right now I'm trying like heck to get a job.
People like Anthony Howell. We caught up with him outside Neighborhood Christian Clinic this morning, waiting for the doors to open so he could get some inexpensive help.
It's $20 to see the doctor and everything. That's good. I can stand that. You know, so that's why I'm here.
What Anthony's going through is why we're here. He falls into that pre-existing condition category.
You know, I have arthritis. I've had arthritis, and so I wouldn't be able to get any help on that.
When we told Anthony that under this new plan he would,
And that part I'm definitely in favor of.
When we see people without insurance.
inside the clinic, Dr. Paul Lawrenston mulls over the new bill too. He says about 200 patients end up in these rooms each week. People too poor to afford to buy their own insurance when employers don't provide it.
I like to think that this is going to be great for them. I like to think that there's going to be many more people without health care insurance that are going to receive
be covered 6 months after the bill's signed. Adults will have to wait until 2014. Back to you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Now, so who's going to pay for health care reform? The Democratic health care plan calls for tax.
An officer reportedly took City Councilman Mike Johnson to the ground and handcuffed him. CBS 5's Donna Rossi is live from downtown Phoenix with more on this. Donna.
Early emotions ran high at today's meeting. Many members of the African-American community demanded that the police chief fire the officer involved. And while the chief assured a swift and complete investigation, he urged people to react on the facts and not their emotions. Concerned citizens packed the city council chambers, and they did not hold back. Many expressed outrage that minorities in South Phoenix have been treated unfairly by police for years, and it took an incident involving a city councilman to bring it to light.
So if the police got hold of Mike Johnson, it was good. It was good. Because little people like me might get a little respect on now.
I think we need to get in an action mode. Take the action to prevent this kind of incident from happening, not just to Michael, but to anyone.
Public Safety Director Jack Harris and his entire command staff listened as some people, including State Representative Clovis Campbell Jr., who was born and raised in South Phoenix, demanded the officer in question be fired.
I'm personally asking for this gentleman's job to be taken away from him, for his butt to be taken out of the city council, and removed from the police department totally.
Reverend Oscar Tillman took things one step further and called for Harris to be replaced.
All of you can say the nice things. I don't believe nothing gonna change until we get a new police chief.
Harris did not react. He promised a swift and thorough investigation with oversight from the FBI, and he announced the formation of a task force to look into the concerns of the minority community. He also asked that people be patient and not react out of emotion, but deal with the facts.
We've heard Councilman Johnson's side very clearly. We've heard what the community feels very clearly, but we can't rush to judgment on that officer.
That officer, 27-year-old Brian Altman, is on paid administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. We have not yet heard his side of the story, but 3 separate sources tell CBS 5 News that Altman was interviewed today for a possible criminal investigation into the actions against Councilman Johnson. No doubt we'll be hearing much more about this situation in the coming days. Reporting live in downtown Phoenix, Donna Rossi, CBS 5 News.
Police are trying to figure out how a man ended up dead next to his car on the side of the road. His body was found this morning where eastbound I-10 intersects with a Loop 202. Police aren't saying how the man died, but we can tell you it did not involve a car crash.
A 4-year-old Phoenix girl was playing outside with her friends when a man abducted her and molested her. This is a sketch of the suspect. Take a good look now. The abduction happened last month near 44th Street and McDowell, and police say all of their leads have now dried up. The man forced the little girl into a dark gray 4-door sedan. After molesting her, he dropped her off a mile from her home.
Today, a public meeting held by Phoenix Mayor Phil Gordon to talk about what happened last week when City Councilman Mike Johnson says a police officer roughed him up and handcuffed him. Some people say the incident will shed a different light on other questionable actions of Phoenix police and minorities.
And Tiger's talking again 3 weeks before he returns to golf at the Masters. Tiger Woods answered questions yesterday for the first time since a Thanksgiving car crash eventually brought his infidelity to light. Tiger talked about treatment, family, and his return to the tour, but he refused to talk about what happened the night of the crash.
Tonight at 10, the Arizona budget axe fell on all-day kindergarten, but many Valley schools are
He was trying to check on his neighbor's home after it caught fire. He says that's when a Phoenix police officer handcuffed him and threw him to the ground. By the way, Johnson is a former Phoenix cop himself before he became a member of the Phoenix City Council. Phoenix Mayor Phil Gordon held a public meeting today on the matter. Many people expressing concerns about officers abusing their power and targeting people because of their skin color. Fox 10's Keith Yaskin has that story.
It was standing room only in the building behind me. City leaders met with the public voted unanimously for him to take the job earlier this month. Milstead replaces former Mesa Police Chief George Gascon, who left the department back in July to head up San Francisco's police department.
Another Valley business lending its support to the father of that missing
continue to support the men and women in uniform that put their lives on the line every single day. We support those officers, but we need to get rid of those few bad apples.
Man, they all bad.
On all of the police.
All of them bad. Every one of them is
Today,
bad.
the spirit of Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez has come together. And the cry of the civil rights movement of fire it up and si se puede is happening today, folks. This is a blessing in disguise. It's a time for all of us to come together in a nonviolent way, to use the message of Martin Luther King, of Cesar Chavez, to unite our communities, to fight for unity, for love, and to stop all this abuse. It's time for us to say, we're tired of the last 40 years of all these subcommittees, these blue ribbon committees, red ribbon, whatever you want to call them, committees to stop the abuse in our community. We are going to create our own committee of human beings that are going to speak up against all the abuses throughout our city. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming out today, for showing the love and support for my colleague, a man who fights every day for your rights, a man who has been my mentor on a daily basis and has guided me to be the best city council member that I am. And I'd like to thank you, Michael, and we are all here because we care and we support you. And I'd also like to introduce really quick is that we have the grandson of Cesar Chavez here today that's also supporting, and we also got a message from Cesar Chavez's son that his blessings and their support is with you, Michael, also. Thank you.
Now it has to have Reverend Oscar Tillman with the NAACP, who's also been very supportive, but he's received many of these complaints that have come into his office by these officers in the 400 precinct.
Good morning. It is unfortunate that we have to come together like this, but whenever we get in our office, all the calls from the little people would seem we don't get the response. We have to fight sometime alone. We have a charade, facade, whatever you want going on, has been perpetrated by this city. This city does not have a police chief. The police chief retired through a shell game. They brought him back as Department of Public Safety. Once we were quiet and discounted all the people, good people within the department and others that were looked over that could have been police chief. We accepted the shell game, and now we're accepting, in essence, what has occurred with that type of leadership. When you have fake leadership, you have no leadership. This city needs to come together and be serious about it. Get a real police chief.
Man, the chief is all right.
Jack Harris.
The chief is all right. It's the culture of the police.
Jack Harris.
Come on, Reb. The chief is all right. I'm respecting you. The chief is all right. It's the culture of the police department.
Jack Harris has been the chief. He retired from being the chief. I look at the leadership.
That's what it is.
If the leadership don't start at the head and work its way down, too many times this police chief or Department of Public Safety person has wrapped his arms around things that were wrong. I mentioned one yesterday, a police officer, aggravated DUI, aggravated .16 DUI, still driving a police vehicle, and pulled over a young Hispanic, charged him with assault, and he went to prison. That had to have been embraced by the police chief, otherwise they would have taken action against the officer. Ultimately, the court gave him 1 day in jail, and that was suspended, but nothing from the police chief on this officer. That's the culture we're talking about. And I could stand here all day and name case after case, but I am not trying to tarnish the image of the majority of the police department, the men and women that work very hard, the commanders and lieutenants and sergeants that get out here and meet with the public and change the dynamics of what is going on in our neighborhood, or try to. But when one officer steps across that line and totally abuse the authority of his badge, we have to remember everyone that wears that weapon has life or death authority right here. I carried that weapon for 23 years in law enforcement, I know. So the thing about it is, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to back down. You can hug, you can kiss the chief all you want, but I'm asking again that some authority and the powers that be in this city take a good look and give us a true, real police chief. And I offer Jack my best wishes in retirement. Thank you.
And now we have Pastor Bert Russell, who's also attorney, to speak on an issue that he is now representing.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. My name is Bert Russell. I pastor a church in South Phoenix, Fountain of Life House of Worship. I'm also an attorney. Well, I just heard Oscar Tillman say that there have been many voices of little people that have come forth. Well, I got a call from one of those little people. On March 11th of this year, my client Letha Coulter lives right next door to the 400 precinct in the apartment complex that's there. She and her daughter's boyfriend were at their location. An incident occurred with with her daughter and the boyfriend, and so she said, "You guys going outside?" She went back into her house, was laying on her couch, asleep, heard her daughter screaming, went downstairs with her hands up in the air because she saw police officers there, and she wanted them to know that she was not coming for any trouble. When she walked down the stairs, a white officer, she doesn't know who he is because he was tall, and immediately he grabbed her hand, grabbed her in the chest, threw her down on the ground. 5 other white male officers came to her, began to kick, beat her, and stomped her. This was witnessed by 6, 7 of the people that were living in the complex. They arrested her, took her to jail, and charged her with aggravated assault. She spent a day in jail, got out of jail, went to the hospital, found out that she has multiple fractured ribs and other injuries resulting from this incident. This is just one of the little people who have been victimized, brutalized by the City of Phoenix Police Department, and it's time that we as a people stand up and say, we're not taking it anymore. So I'm here as a representative of the community, as a faith person, but also as an attorney to let the City of Phoenix know that there are going to be ramifications for what is happening to our citizens, and it must stop, and it must stop now. We've had to retain an attorney to help this woman, and Robert Wooten, a criminal defense attorney, will now step up because she has to be in court on Friday morning at 8:30 for charges of aggravated assault for something that she absolutely did not commit. But because of the justification for the arrest and everything else that took place, there has to be some type of trumped up charges, and we see this happening all the time, that when somebody is arrested, there has to be something that goes along with it. I heard Michael Johnson, or I saw in his statement, that he said that had he been somebody else, he would have been arrested. Well, my client, Letha Coulter, is that somebody else. and she was arrested. And we're demanding justice. We want to know the identity of these 6 officers who did this to her, because they left the scene, and at this point in time, we don't even know who they are, but we will find out who they are, and justice will prevail. Thank you.
We also, I may be needing an attorney too, because, I'm going to answer any questions that I can, but I'm going to, at the end of this, I can't really answer questions about the details of my incident, because now I understand that I'm the subject of a criminal investigation and may be charged with aggravated assault. Okay. I'm also going to have Brother Charles Muhammad going to step up and say a few words.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. My name is Charles Muhammad. I am the Arizona representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. And to hear what has happened to a public servant is really appalling and upsetting to each and every one of us. Let me just begin in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. We thank him for his mercy and his kindness, and we thank him to stand before you today to represent freedom, justice, and equality, something that this city is in desperate need of. What has happened to Michael Johnson as a public servant is really what God has used to point out a systemic problem that goes much deeper and much bigger than our wonderful councilman who's doing a great job. It is a problem that has plagued this city and this state and really the country, that is permeating with deep-rooted racism that has come from a mindset of human beings that have been devalued. If there's no value in the human being, then it's easy for a police officer who has a very tough job. We don't negate that. But if that human being is devalued in their mind, then it makes it very easy for them to be stopped without probable cause and slammed to the ground, handcuffed, and trumped-up charges be brought against them. So I believe that God chose this man, Michael Johnson, who's doing a wonderful job by his constituents and the community at large, a man who has served on the police department, so he has no bone to pick with the police, a man who is a public servant, so he knows the hard job of working and serving to a people, which sometimes is a very thankless job. But God used him to bring out a bigger problem. We have to address that problem. And from the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, a man who stands for freedom, justice, and equality, he said, if a man such as Councilman Johnson, who is a public servant that has served for a long time with merit, can be treated in this manner, then there is no hope for any citizen with the police department in the city of Phoenix. He said that you must be warned today. This kind of behavior should not be tolerated by the mayor or the police chief. If justice is not served, it will produce revolution. We want to know what they are going to do and when they're going to do it. An example should be made so that other police officers should know this behavior and conduct will not be tolerated. We are watching and waiting to see what you are going to do. Now, I have a personal story to tell. One of our parishioners from Muhammad Mosque, Brother Stanley Muhammad, was given an assignment by myself to go out into one of the worst neighborhoods in the city, over on Cocoa Pop. Y'all familiar with that? I believe you are. In his attempt to assess the situation, he saw individuals who were on a vacant lot, who were, for the most part, it was crime in that area. I don't negate that. But to see individuals urinate behind a wall. He told me that the first thing we need to do, brother, is to bring a porta potty and put it on that lot. He went in his own pocket and paid for a month for a porta potty to be delivered there. We went, myself and Brother Stanley. Where's Brother Stanley? Come on up here, brother. This man, yes, sir, stepped out to do a service for a community and was handcuffed by the police, and I had just left the scene. If I had been there, then it would have been a bigger problem for myself and for the community. So trying to do something good that was caught up in a raid called Triple Blue, right? And his face, his person is in that as a suspect or whatever. He was cut loose, but we want this man's name clear. And we want the good work that we have done to be looked at for what it is, good work trying to serve the community. So we know that, in my conclusion, we know that there's always need for better community relations with the police department. But this is not the behavior that is necessary to get it. Thank you. God bless.
As we talk about these issues in the 400 precinct, they are much bigger than what I am. And I tell you, it is so heartening and heartbroken to hear some of these stories that are going on there. I'm going to bring a young lady up here, Vanessa Lewis, who, her and her auntie came to my door 9 o'clock at night, knocking on my door, knocking on my door, knocking on my door, because of a problem they were having. And when she came into my house shaking and in tears, I was so sad that I got on the phone and I called my colleague, Councilman Norikowski, and told him he had to hear this story. And I'm going to ask Vanessa to come up and tell her story of what she came and her fear that she had of these officers out there.
Good morning. My name is Vanessa Lewis. I'm a victim of Officer Pete Boyles. I was pulled over last month on the 19th, approximately 1 o'clock in the morning, for my light being out on my license plate. Well, when he came and got my identification and he went and ran my name, he came back, asked me to step out of my car. He placed me under arrest and said I was driving under suspended license and also I had a warrant. Well, I was placed in the back seat of the police officer's car, and it went from him asking me, what can I say to him to convince him to let me go, to what I can do for him. The officer became very agitated with me because I wouldn't give him an answer because I didn't know what he wanted me to say. And so finally, when he asked me for the 5th time, what are you going to do for me since I'm doing this for you? I agreed to have sex with the officer. He then stated, okay, I'm not going to do anything in this police uniform or this police car, but he gave me my citations. He also gave me a phone number and told me if I didn't call him within a couple of days that he knew where I lived and he also knew where I worked, he would come back and arrest me for the warrants that I had. And I went to Internal Affairs and I made a statement at Internal Affairs. They referred me to criminal investigators. I went to criminal investigators. The criminal investigator, I believe, was more interested in arresting me for the warrant that I had for driving on suspended license than he was at what I had to say. And I just want you to know that I fear for my life. This is my daughter. I fear for my life. I'm a mother of 7. I work hard every day. I shouldn't have to go through this. Nothing has been done to this officer, and still he patrols the same area. I don't know if he's riding past my house every day, but I am afraid, and I just want something to be done. Thank you.
What's his name?
Officer Pete Boyles. P as in Pam, Boyles. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Johnson, what about Fonz West? Mr. Johnson?
Fonz, I'll get with you in a minute after
All
this
right.
is over.
Yeah. No, it don't need to be over because it's police brutality.
Fine. Come on, chill out for a minute.
All right.
This is just one of many complaints which we receive in our officers of citizens being abused and misused. You cannot understand how hardening it is for people to have to live in this type of atmosphere, to have to go through this type of brutality and insult that officers actually feel that if you live in that 400 precinct, that they have a right to do as they want to do, and citizens have no right to intimidate our citizens, to threaten them, to physically cause physical abuse to them. It's really hardening. I want to also thank several of my colleagues that are here, that came out. You know, former Councilman Good is here. He served on the city council for over 22 years. Supervisor Mary Rose Wilcox, who's actually also served on the city council now, County Board of Supervisor. My colleague right here, Clovis Campbell, who's going to come up and say a few words along with many, many other people. I would encourage you that there's many people standing right here in this audience today that have been victimized, who have been abused, who have made complaints to the police department about those officers in the 400 precinct and have not received any satisfaction of anything being done to those officers. And I now have to attest that as a result, I now am subject to the same things that many of these citizens have complained to me about, that being abused and subsequently being charged with a crime. Now under investigation to be charged with a crime. I'm going to ask Clovis Campbell to say a couple of words, and then I'm going to wrap this up.
Well, thank you, Michael. A couple of things come to mind. First of all, that while Michael suffers his abuse here, I'm suffering abuse at the state capitol with our budget. So, briefly, the pages of the Arizona Informant newspaper have always covered issues of concern in the community, from the Buchanan situation to the Ed Mallett situation, and now we have the Johnson situation. A situation that should not have occurred in any shape or form. We have to deal with issues that are talked about in our community for several years, but nothing has been done. It takes an incident like this to happen. And keep in mind, I have no issues with our great men in blue that serve our community. I have great communications with the community. I have great communication with the police community. Our service and our dedication to make sure that in District 16 and District 8, that we have an excellent workforce, and the kind of outreach that the community has done has always been first class. Assistant Chief Jerry Williams, who is a great friend of mine, has made sure of that. However, in this case, we do have one bad apple. Just like every other organization has a bad apple. There are no perfect teachers, there are no perfect politicians, and there obviously are no perfect police officers. The question is, what do we do about this issue? We've talked about red tape, we've talked about task force, we've talked about every kind of program to discuss this matter. There's only one solution. This man must go. I ask that this man be fired immediately. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to continue to say it. If this police officer is not removed from his duty, and like I said yesterday, we can send him back to Sears, give him some slippers and a flashlight, and let him work as a security guard, all he needs to do. But he should not patrol the streets of the city of Phoenix. When you have abuse of power like this, it breeds, and it continues to grow. We do not want this to happen. Our community has suffered a long time. We've been the brunt of a lot of different things. But as we've continued to repair and mend the situations that have happened in our community, one bad apple can't spoil the bunch. Remember, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation. It takes one push, one shove, one click of the handcuffs to wipe all that out. Thank you.
I also want to thank my colleague Valerie Woods, who's in the back, Councilwoman and Mayor Coper, Florence, who have been totally supportive of us, and we've been supportive of her there. Thank you for coming down to support us here today. I want to say that I have my daughter here and my son-in-law here, and I would tell you that I've said it before. You know, all my life I have tried to raise my kids to do the right thing and